Breaking news in the world of entertainment. One of the most talented artists of his generation is now facing a complete and total collapse of everything he built. Chris Brown, once untouchable, once celebrated as the next Michael Jackson. Tonight, we are breaking down the catastrophic series of decisions, scandals, and controversies that didn't just damage his career. They may have destroyed it permanently. Stay with us. This is a story 20 years in the making, and it is far from over. Let's set the scene. Christopher Maurice Brown burst onto the music scene in 2005. He was 16 years old. Smooth vocals, incredible dance moves, a smile that sold millions of records. His debut single run, it went straight to #1. He wasn't just a pop star, he was a phenomenon. For 4 years, Chris Brown was untouchable. Then February 8th, 2009 happened. The night before the Grammy Awards, one of the most violent and high-profile domestic assault incidents in celebrity history unfolded inside a rented Lamborghini in Hollywood. The victim, Rihanna, his girlfriend at the time, one of the biggest pop stars on the planet. The photographs that surfaced shook the entire world. Chris Brown was 20 years old, and in one single night, everything changed. He pled guilty to felony assault. He received 5 years probation and community service. But the real sentence? The court of public opinion delivered something far more devastating, and it never ended. That was the beginning of the descent. But here's what most people don't talk about. It didn't stop there. The mistakes kept coming. The controversies kept mounting. And the industry that once crowned him, slowly, methodically, began to walk away. Let's talk about the full scope of what happened to Chris Brown's career and legacy, because this goes far deeper than one incident. Before 2009, Chris Brown was on a trajectory to be one of the greatest entertainers of all time. Post-2009, every single career milestone has been overshadowed by that night. Every Grammy nomination, every sold-out concert, every #1 album. The conversation always comes back to Rihanna. Music critics who once praised him began writing pieces questioning whether his talent could ever be separated from his actions. Spoiler alert, for most of the public, it never was. Here's where it gets complicated. Chris Brown retained a massive and fiercely loyal fanbase, a group known as the Breezy Nation. They defended him aggressively across every platform. Streaming numbers stayed strong. Concert tickets sold. But mainstream acceptance? Gone. Major television networks stopped booking him. Awards shows became uncomfortable territory. When he did appear at major events, social media erupted. Not with praise, but with outrage. The public discourse around Chris Brown became one of the most polarizing conversations in modern entertainment history. He became a cultural lightning rod, and not in a way that helped him. The music industry operates on relationships, image, and risk assessment. After 2009, major brands began quietly distancing themselves. Wrigley suspended his endorsement deal immediately after the assault became public. Other partnerships quietly dissolved. Radio stations in multiple markets pulled his music from rotation in the immediate aftermath. Some permanently altered how they played his catalog. Over the years that followed, Chris Brown found himself increasingly locked out of the mainstream collaborative ecosystem. Major pop artists who might have featured him didn't. The risk to their own image was simply too high. Chris Brown has not received a Grammy Award despite multiple nominations and genuinely strong commercial performances. Industry insiders have pointed to the Recording Academy's increased focus on artist conduct as a direct factor. Whether or not that is provable, the pattern speaks for itself. Now here is where the story takes an even darker turn. Because what many people don't fully realize is that the 2009 incident was not an isolated moment of poor judgment. It was the beginning of a pattern. In 2011, a violent altercation with rapper Drake's entourage at a New York City nightclub. Bottles thrown, people injured, criminal charges filed. In 2012, a fight with Frank Ocean over a parking space at a recording studio. Frank Ocean publicly disclosed he had been attacked. The optics were catastrophic. In 2013, arrested in Washington, D.C. for felony assault after allegedly punching a man outside a hotel. The incident violated his probation from the 2009 case. In 2016, a highly publicized standoff at his Los Angeles home. A woman claimed he threatened her with a gun. SWAT teams arrived. The incident was broadcast live on national news for hours. He was arrested. In 2019, arrested in Paris on allegations of aggravated rape and drug administration. The case was eventually dropped without charges, but the international headlines were devastating. And then, 2023. A lawsuit filed alleging sexual assault at a New Year's Eve party in 2015. The lawsuit sent shockwaves through social media and reignited every prior controversy simultaneously. Each incident, each arrest, each allegation, they stacked on top of one another like building blocks of a collapsing structure. Insider sources within the entertainment industry have told multiple outlets that behind closed doors, major label executives have grown increasingly reluctant to invest heavily in Chris Brown projects. The liability concerns are described as significant. The conversations that happen in boardrooms, away from public statements, paint a picture of an artist whose commercial ceiling has been artificially suppressed by the weight of his own conduct history. Here is the twist that nobody saw coming. Despite all of it, Chris Brown's streaming numbers have remained remarkably strong. His 2023 album 1111 debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200. He sold out arenas on his Under the Influence tour. The numbers suggest an artist still capable of massive commercial success. But commercial success and cultural rehabilitation are two entirely different things. And the gap between those two realities is where Chris Brown currently lives, in a strange, unprecedented limbo that the music industry has never quite seen before. So where does Chris Brown go from here? And what are the real implications moving forward? First, the legal landscape remains unpredictable. Multiple civil cases continue working through the court system. Each new filing, each new court date, generates a fresh wave of negative press that interrupts any positive momentum. Second, the streaming generation is growing up, and younger audiences are increasingly socially conscious. Gen Z consumers, who now drive music culture, are making buying decisions based not just on sound but on values. The question of whether Chris Brown can fully penetrate that demographic in a sustained way remains genuinely open. Third, his collaborators face real professional risk. Artists who feature on Chris Brown records or tour with him regularly face public backlash. Some have handled it gracefully. Others have quietly stepped back. The collaborative hesitancy continues to limit the creative and commercial ceiling of his projects. Fourth, the documentary era is coming. Multiple production companies are believed to be in discussions about documentary projects covering Chris Brown's life and career. If and when one is released, and given the current entertainment appetite for celebrity retrospectives, it is a matter of when, not if. It will almost certainly reignite every controversy simultaneously and force a new national reckoning with his story. And fifth, Chris Brown himself has shown limited public willingness to engage in the kind of sustained, credible accountability tour that communications experts say would be necessary to shift mainstream public perception. Brief social media statements, occasional interviews, but nothing approaching the comprehensive, long-form reckoning that might actually move the needle. The trajectory, as it stands tonight, points toward a career that will remain commercially viable in pockets, but permanently excluded from the highest levels of mainstream cultural acceptance. For an artist of his undeniable talent, that may ultimately be the most tragic part of this entire story. For the full in-depth breakdown and exclusive updates on this developing story, visit our website. The link is right there in the description below. We have additional details, extended analysis, and content you will not find anywhere else. Don't miss it. If you are new here, this channel delivers daily breaking news coverage on the biggest controversies, scandals, and career collapses involving the world's most famous names. Hit that subscribe button right now. Turn on notifications. You do not want to miss what we are covering next. This has been breaking news. Stay informed.